goes back a long way, and it really is very, very linked to the father of this woman.
Maxwell, were you
here? And I'll just pop that up. Yeah.
Just been a man to fluff his boat.
Yeah. So the father of this woman, who is like essentially the headline of today's show, what I said was a harsh mistress, because you'll also see a lot of images along with this image inverted there, linking her between all the various people that she's at least been photographed with. So for context, and those who are viewing at home, this is Ghislaine Maxwell, and let's see if we can hear a little bit of her being interviewed by the GOP Oversight Committee, I think it is, for the congressional hearings into the Epstein files. So let's just hear, and like I say, colour me shocked by her responses here.
you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Okay, so I don't know, I think that's fairly categorical, right?
No comment, no comment, no comment, no comment.
Didn't I say that last week?
Crazy.
Watch how we suddenly have an incredible wave of amnesia. I do not recall. And this interests me as well, of like the sort of what's going on legally with her, because she is serving a sentence right now, right?
Yeah.
And obviously footage has come out of her in her cell as well, just pacing around and basically being completely nuts and crying and stuff like that. I mean, not like nuts in the way she would be if she was out of the cell. That's actually more nuts.
No. Well,
but
yeah,
no, you can see she's clearly suffering, and damn right too. You know, like she's made her bed, she's going to lie in it, literally.
Yeah.
But I wonder about this, because she's, like I say, serving a sentence. She's already been prosecuted, right?
Yeah. There's nothing more to be got out of this.
Well,
she's not gonna, name names.
I'm guessing this is different charges or something. I mean, she said that she had a clemency deal, and the government has broken their promise. And one part of me is just right away saying, that ain't how it works. I don't care.
No.
I don't give a goddamn what the last government or any government or even this government said to you. Yeah? You're under questioning now by me, and screw your clemency. This is way too big for clemency.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Like, the way this works is you tell us exactly what the hell you know, and we may decide to imprison you for the rest of your life breaking rocks, rather than terminate you with extreme prejudice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they still have the death penalty in America. Yeah, that's legit to say.
Yeah.
So that in itself should give people some indications of how stupid this situation is. And like I say, the reason I question that was like, if she's being questioned down the same line of questioning for something she's already serving time for, she can't really claim the fifth. Because how's it going to incriminate her any further along what she's already serving time for? That's why I'm wondering what other charges are here. Because we haven't heard that as far as I've seen. I haven't seen any other sort of description of widening charges, extended charges, or new charges, or whatever. So I'm sat there watching her say this and thinking, well, you can't, unless there is something else you're going to be charged with.
Exactly.
Trump, unfortunately, whatever the situation with him and this situation in general, he has to stay hard on this one. Oh Jesus, that's the worst.
What a turn of phrase.
Yeah, he needs to be. He needs to. I was going to say stand firm, man. He needs to maintain erectile function. No, God, now it's going the wrong way. Look, he needs to be not like granting any clemency on this. I think this may be kind of accelerating a bit out of his hands. You know, oh God damn it, that's another one accelerating out of his hands. But he's losing his grip on it. What is wrong with me? I can't do
Oh dear.
Look,
You've been at it way too long, I think. I think you're stir crazy.
Because the thing is, like, people are still saying that he's been exonerated, particularly under the sort of element that, they've revealed again, because they did talk about this before, way back in 2006, between 2006 and 2009, how Trump was actually the informant that ratted out Epstein in the first place. And
there's got to be something, hasn't there? Because he is about as untouchable as old Starmer, isn't he? Because you think all the stuff that's happened to Trump, the Stormy Daniels stuff, the other bits and bobs, that there's corruption, there's been the insurrection, all manner of alleged dodginess, and not to mention his connections with a certain dead financier on an island.
You notice how people keep calling him that? The disgraced financier. It's like, no, bro, he was a PDF, right?
Exactly.
Right up PDF, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, disgraced financier my arse.
A disgraced financier would be someone like Nick Leeson, wouldn't it? Who bankrupted the bank.
Yeah.
That's what he did. He disgraced the bank and bought him.
You bring up Nick Leeson, right? And again, if you go through the map, and like there is actually a map out there. There's this thing called the Map of Terror, or the Timeline of Terror. Yeah.
Yeah. God, that sounds scary.
Well, it goes way back beyond 2001. Now, I wonder whether this is still on the web. I'll have to dig it out at some point, maybe Wayback Machine or something. But basically, it was a sort of crowd-sourced investigation into the links surrounding, for example, the collapse of those towers that happened to be in the great state of New York on that 11th day, that 9th month of the 2001 supposed year. And it goes tracing way back, and it traces, things like the Council of Foreign Relations, and Larry Silverstein, and connections to BCCI, which, if you remember, Mr. Copper, who did Mr. Copper, the father-in-law of Candace Owens, sell his company to for millions of pounds?
Yes, very true.
BCCI, wasn't it? It was a BCCI thing. Or at least they handled the transaction, something like that. He was go back and watch the episode. Like, I might even still have it written in my notes here. It's here somewhere, anyway. Yeah, like there's a link there, a strong link there, right? So this has been going on a long time, and I might even suggest that like you could trace things back to easily 1860. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about, like, who's his boss, and we did talk about this last week of how he's quite clear how he represents the family that's red of shields, right? Has shields of red, and like again, trace them back. Like, they used Waterloo to crash the market. Don't forget that. They actually were the people that engineered the crash around Waterloo to benefit from, totally homogenizing and taking control of European banking, and also Maxwell, before Epstein, was an agent for the Rothschilds as well, the Red Shields as well, and he was really into like corporate takeovers, and they used him very much partly for that sort of corporate takeover, aggressive takeovering, but also for getting into the publishing empire, right?
Of course.
There are links there. Like, I mean, he was what you would call like a Janus agent, which again, falls us back to Ian Fleming and what we've highlighted many times about the way Ian Fleming was writing about real experiences that he had, you know, member of the OSS, and yeah, I mean, you know, Maxwell Robert was certainly what you could even call a multi-Yanis agent, because he was working for the Brits, MI5, MI6, he was working for Mossad, he was working for Russian intelligence, and the Russians knew. The Russians do have documentation on knowing that Maxwell was up to all of this, and you know, obviously we covered last week how he, you know, tried to, and Epstein himself in these emails makes it clear that that he was bumped off because he tried to bribe or blackmail Mossad with for 400,000 or something like that. Yeah, and that was all surrounding the Mirror. You know.
Yes.
So I mean, this is like an insanely old system here, and it's been going for a really long time, and it has swept up. Like we covered last week, I think we did mention the Norwegian royal family, right?
Yeah.
We covered that, right? We covered her son being, was it Marius Borg? Yeah? Marius Borg, and what he did to someone, which was absolutely horrific. Yeah, and yeah, we got our royal family in here as well.
Oh, crikey.
You know,
yeah.
And that's not all of it. There are others implicated as well, and there's other people who are linked and connected in ways that, you know, you can't possibly claim to have no clue what's going on.
No, of course, yeah. As we said, with Mandelson, you can't claim that. You're in that environment, that situation, you cannot stick your head in the sand.
Well, again, it's the playbook thing that I'm mentioning here of like how, I mean, I said it last week, didn't I? Like the man that was known as, you know, the man that could crash an economy, because that's exactly what he did. Maxwell was that man. Epstein also has that capability. He was in that position of doing so. And like I just highlighted, if people want to do their research, this is exactly the same playbook all the way back to Waterloo. Right? And as I mentioned last week, did I show the email from it last week where he was he was actually sent from Edward, wasn't it? Edmund de Rothschild, remember? The email last week? They're literally including him. Epstein on, we need to change our family name. We need to split this in half because we don't agree with these guys.
That's it.
So, you know, this is the thing, it's multi-generational. There's a really good interview that I advise anyone to go check out with Jay Dyer on Redacted last night on YouTube. Yeah. And like, they were mentioning like how far this goes back, and it is generational. And it's interesting as well how, you know, how we pointed out, because obviously the the Maxwell publishing empire was huge. It covered vast amounts of educational publications, science publications, everything, man. Like, was it the Heinemann Group, I think, maybe one of them, you know, Pegasus Press, Persimmon Press, places like that, all of these things. Yeah, they were all sucked into that. You know, and they've had control over this. And one of the things that they pointed out on Redacted last night, the good lady that presents that, you know, while talking to Jay Dyer, is that she's of Japanese descent, right? Yeah. And they were talking about certain links to a certain Stephen-named director who may have directed large films, you know, about aliens and extraterrestrials and, you know, dudes with hats and stuff like that. Sorry, I say dudes with hats and whips. You know, well, I mean, she was highlighting how there's been this narrative that only ever covers the troubles of the Second World War and the large number. Oh, let's just say it, right? You're not allowed to say Holocaust if you're Asian, is what she said, right? Because she's of Japanese descent, and it seems like the vast majority of all media only tends to cover Schindler's List, for example. Yeah, to broaden that out for people and the algorithm bit, right? And I think again she's right, because again it was dawning on her and many other people this week. It has dawned on that all American like educational books were basically run by Maxwell. He owned the company, right? And all of his education has been filtered through with a very heavy slant to a certain group of people. And as I highlighted, who was in control of that narrative all these years but the wife of Robert Maxwell, Elizabeth Maxwell. And I don't know if it's still on Wiki right now, but you can even go check the Wiki page. Even that, which we know is usually scrubbed for all this sort of stuff. I mean, take Naina Visitor, okay? An actress. You ever heard of Naina Visitor?
No.
I'm digressing a bit here, right? But Naina Visitor is an actress who's in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, who played the Major Kira. Yeah, Kira Leeds. And I've been watching that again because I'm not a big fan of that show at all, but it is an absolute allegory for the Middle East and Israel. Every time I hear the Kardashian Gold Cut talk, I hear Netanyahu talk. It's exactly the same thing he's been saying about Gaza right now.
Yeah.
And her entire history's been properly scrubbed.
Really?
And like they've reduced it down really small because I remember reading it before, and there was quotes from her going into detail as to why she chose the name Naina Visitor. Yeah. And I seem to remember part of it being that, like, even the Naina bit isn't actually her real name. It was like a contraction of her name that one of her siblings used because she couldn't pronounce her name properly.
Oh, okay.
But Visitor was also chosen because she felt that, like, she was a visitor in that country, in the States.
Yeah.
Because her family had emigrated, and it's that stereotype standard story.
Yeah,
you always get these poor family of a particular, group of people, that may have diaspored around the world, coming to America and like rags to riches sort of thing, which actually really isn't necessarily true. That's often the case, So that's a bit of a digression there, but again, history is written by certain people, and in this particular case here that I'm relating to you, like, go check out Elizabeth Maxwell's wiki. It should still say it there because it said it there when we checked it out there the other week, right? A few weeks ago we showed people that, and again she has links to councils that were complaining about Tommy Robinson that we covered many weeks ago as well, when he went out to Israel. He went out there, and like they were talking about councils, certain councils of certain people. It's very interesting how suddenly all of this web, these Matryoshka dolls, are starting to open up.
Yes, definitely, totally.
And like pulling on threads is one of the things. There's the thing, there's so many documents there. This is going to take a long time, and it's going to be one of those things that has to be done like by humans.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I don't reckon this information is all going to be disseminated quickly and accurately enough before this is all over and done with. No. But people are making a good stab at it, and there's lots of us out here doing it. Maybe some of us might have more time to do these things than others. Certainly,
you certainly sound like you have at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to be careful with it as well, which I'd suggest anyone else trying to do this. Like, if you are a researcher, if you are someone that does do this sort of stuff, like, be careful with how long you spend on it, because in one chunk you can lose a lot of time because there's a lot of files there. And also,
it is rabbit hole central, isn't it? It really is.
You've got to cross-reference, and you've got to be careful because there is a lot of random stuff in there that a lot of people are now debating. Has this been deliberately inserted here to misdirect?
Yes.
Are there other things? For example, there was a photograph, right, of two chickens. Have you heard about the chicken one?
No. But possibly. But
So,
carry on.
in the files, there's an image of two chickens, and in the middle of the chicken, there's a blackout redaction box, right? And people were looking at it and saying that looks like a baby leg, right?
Yes, that was it. And it's not, is it?
Well, if you look at the bottom right corner, and again, props, because I noticed this, but again, this is in between time, right? Between our shows. And this is why I often wonder whether I should jump on and just do little bits myself, because Ron Swanson got there before me, and he debunked it himself as well. But you look in the bottom right corner, there's a copyright there. So why not have a check out on what that copyright is, right?
Exactly.
Is this random artist? And again, one of the weird things is having been on the web for as long as I have, you've seen some weird ass stuff out there, like,
oh, crikey.
There's some old ones out there that like would shock people today. I think one of them involved Kermit. That used to be, you remember our chat like on WhatsApp, I used to use that Kermit one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the original of that with an actual human being is even worse, right? But this particular image that people have been ascribing and running away with ideas on was by this artist, and what you can't see under that redacted box in the original image, you can see. And without going into too much detail, it's the artist buck naked, scaled down to size of a chicken, lying on his back, holding his legs up. Yeah, like, so again, this is why people have to be very careful.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of stuff in there that, whether it's intentional or not, for all we know, that could have just been something they pulled off of Epstein's phone or computer or whatever, or email, whatever. Do you remember the old email that got sent around with the monkey pissing in his own mouth?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, it could be something like that. But again, people have kind of run away with things. And this is why, again, this job has to be done en masse by a lot of people in chunks, and cross-referenced, and made sure that what you're reading and looking at, actually implies something concrete for a start, because this is the other thing. All of it is just implication. You need actually some other physical evidences there. I mean, there's things that you can provably, like, show, like transactions. For example, I think I mentioned last week, and I covered the fact that Ghislaine went under a different name when she was supposedly married to Stephen guy, right? And if you go looking through the files for their married name, under which she was captured, when she was caught in Hidden Away, the conveniently named Hidden Away house.
Yes.
That partner, he has transactions on Roblox that are running through. And again, this is one of the other things, is that when I was going through these documents, I was like, wait, hold on a second, whose accounts are these? Because these aren't Epstein's accounts from what I can tell, and I look through the documents more carefully and find, yes, indeed, these are actually statements coming from Ghislaine and her husband, or an account that both Ghislaine and her husband have some sort of access to. Yeah? And, like, so this is the thing, there's a lot of details, a lot of facets here, and everyone needs to take their time with it, cross-reference things, be careful about, like, what is implied and what isn't implied. And be cautious about redaction boxes, man, because as was proven by so many things over the years, you remember things like Viz and Private Eye and stuff like that, where they would just take out of context images and stick black redaction boxes over the eyes. It's a classic technique for satire and comedy, right? Like, because suddenly it takes a perfectly innocent image and converts it into something that's now inappropriate, much like that old Brass Eye sketch. Do you remember that Brass Eye sketch where... this was in the special, the PDF special. Do you remember the Brass Eye PDF special on Channel 4?
Yeah,
I mean, that got banned real quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
Crikey. How correct was that? How correct was that damn thing? We're living through that right now.
Well, a lot of things you'll find that exactly the same way, won't you?
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah, and one of the sketches on that was in an art gallery, and it had like one art piece of a model, like a girl's dolly. Yeah, like Charlie Peter Pants or whatever dolly. Yeah. And it's just there, like, kind of looking ragged up and like in its underwear or in a nappy, and it looks kind of punked up, right? Yeah. And then next to it is a piece of art of a dog, a dachshund, with an enormous penis, human penis on it, right? And Chris Morris has stood there saying to this guy, going, so if we look at these two pieces of art, you're saying these aren't offensive. On their own, these aren't offensive, no? There's nothing suggestive or too sexual about this, yeah? And the guy's like, no, I think it's edgy. Whilst it's edgy, it's perfectly fine. So then Chris Morris grabs the dachshund and smacks it in half over his knee, and then smashes up like a bit of the bottom of the girl's one and puts them together so it's a dolly with like this giant penis on it. What about that then? What about that? Is that offensive now? And the guy's like, yes, it is. It's like, again, I'm saying this because this is what we're looking at in the files here. Yeah, you're gonna have an awful lot of that. I know that's a satire, but again, with redaction boxes, and also the non-sequential nature of some of the photos, where you'll get a batch of photos, and this has been mentioned by a lot of people, not just with photos, but with emails and other documents, where you've got this running thread, and then just a bunch of crap in the middle that has no relativity to it whatsoever. And again, that's why it's going to take like a lot of eyes on to start bringing together those into their little clumps of how these are actually relative to each other, right? So I mean, God, that's an awful lot there, but sure enough, like, Maxwell's saying she doesn't know anything about this, and she will happily testify if she gets clemency and reveal all of the names of the co-conspirators, etc. So, I mean, that kind of like brings us up to scratch on like this week's sort of like a light look at some of this week's news, the most pressing news, leading into like having another little look-see, pulling on another little thread, I think.
As light as you can make it, I think. This is
just about.
This is the thing.